Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. I am so excited about today's guest. Krista King is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and integrative and functional certified nutrition practitioner. Through her online practice, Composed Nutrition, she provides one-on-one coaching, online courses, and resources to help you naturally heal your hormones, digestion, and anxiety. She helps you reconnect with your body's wisdom for long-term symptom relief without strict diet rules or complicated protocols. Krista is the creator of 3 online courses, Period Rescue, PCOS Harmony, and After Birth Control, designed to help those struggling with menstrual symptoms and hormonal chaos uncover their root causes and apply individualized healing strategies. Her goal is to help you find hormonal harmony, to feel at home in your body again so you can pursue your dreams and passions without worrying about symptoms or having symptoms get in your way. You can find Krista on Instagram at Composed Nutrition, where she shares simple nutrition and lifestyle tips for happy hormones. In today's show, we dive in deep with getting down to that root cause, how to heal your body so you have pleasant periods, boosted fertility, and optimized hormones. So now, without further ado, I would love to welcome Krista to our show. Hey, Krista, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit more about you and your story and how you started working in women's health.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Krista King. I am an integrative dietitian. So my background is originally I became a registered dietitian. And so really, that conventional medical background in the nutrition world. And I've always been on a quest for answers to the root cause to our health. And that is really what led me to do further training in integrative and functional nutrition. So really taking the best of conventional medicine with holistic health practices to really individualize and uncover the root cause of what is contributing to our health.
Yes. So, I love that. And that's exactly what we talk about here on this show. Like, let's get down to that root and find out why you're having these symptoms in the first place, not just masking them and trying to fix them with, prescriptions and procedures. So I love that. Yeah. So let's talk periods.
Yeah.
Tell us, what is a healthy period and why would we not want to suffer with all the period pain that we're told is so normal?
Yeah. Well, I think a really huge distinction with our period symptoms that we're experiencing is that they're really common, but that doesn't mean they are normal. And that may sound like, oh my gosh, I've been experiencing these my whole menstruating life. What do you mean it's not normal? It's very common, up to 90% of us experience some sort of PMS symptoms, but we can think of our periods like a vital sign, a kind of check engine light into kind of what's going on overall internally. And so when we're thinking about what is a healthy period, we want to ideally see, bleeding between like 3 to 7 days. Our cycle length is something we can check in with. 21 to 35 days. I kind of like to see it a little bit closer to 25. Is it consistent? Meaning, around the same cycle length, give or take a few days. And really checking in with those symptoms. Common ones are cramps, are breast tenderness, mood swings, anxiety, bloating, food cravings, all of these things that we can tend to experience in that, week or two before our period, but sometimes they're going on all month long or tend to pop up, during our period or mid-cycle. So kind of checking in with when are those showing up too can give us some clues into what's going on hormonally as well.
Yes, for sure. And really, I love that you say that it's really a vital sign, because I feel like so many of us aren't taught that. And it really is, if you think about it, it's like our body's report card telling us when something is wrong or right. So I love that you say that. Yeah. So let's talk birth control. Tell us why this is prescribed so often to fix our cycles, and why that is not really the case and that's not what it's doing.
Yeah, well, a really common story with a lot of my clients is I'm experiencing this list, XYZ symptoms that we just listed. So my unique combination of those. And, I want a solution. I don't want to feel this way. And so, we think, okay, I'm going to go to my doctor and tell them about this. And then we're pretty much offered birth control as the solution to our symptoms. And while for some people it may help with symptom relief, it's important to know that it can just be masking our symptoms. And if we were to transition off of it later on, we could, our symptoms can come back, different symptoms can pop up. And those are because we're not addressing the root cause or the underlying why or reason the symptoms were there originally. It's not a birth control deficiency. It's it's something else, and it's not usually just one thing. And so I like to say, because I know that a lot of my clients can get kind of frustrated that we didn't have this information. And it's just really thinking about what tools does the practitioner that you're going to see have in their toolbox. And a lot of times conventional medicine doctors, they just have that as the tool in their toolbox. And it's not that their intention is to just mask symptoms, but they don't have a lot of time with clients. They're not necessarily talking or have enough time or in some cases the training to talk about the nutrition and lifestyle, digging into the root cause and really spend that time with you to understand what's going on.
I completely agree. And that's why practitioners like you and I are so important, because we do kind of pick up and we do have the time to dive into this a little deeper. And I agree too. It's not the practitioner's fault. It's not the doctor's fault. They're just not trained appropriately in looking at root cause, or even in, I heard recently, and I'd heard this before, but it still just blows my mind, that most MDs get one class or less in nutrition. They just don't know. And it's the very beginning of medical school. And then they go through the whole medical school, their residency. And so it's like, it's just not a tool that's in their toolkit, which is so frustrating. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So you talk a little bit about the relationship we have with food, and it's more than just like what we eat, but actually how we feel about food and our relationship there. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So a lot of us are experiencing not only these period symptoms, but also struggling with our relationship to food and also some of our health practices as well. Oftentimes coming in with the best of intentions, a lot of people that I work with, and I've even experienced this in my own health journey, we have the best intention to do all the things, to fix our problems or symptoms that we're experiencing. But then that can kind of turn into perhaps food rules, or this idea, if I'm not doing XYZ and doing it perfectly, then I'm not going to heal. And then also just, our disordered eating, our eating disorders are so prevalent as well. And so it can get a little bit difficult sometimes when we're experiencing kind of a difficult relationship with food and we're also trying to heal these symptoms. And so that's something I really bring into my practice, is this intuitive approach to eating, and really trying to moving away so much from the word like protocol or doing XYZ. We have to do it this way. It's really, as a practitioner, we're offering guidance, educated guidance, and it's up to you to figure out which of that really resonates with you and works for you. And so it's moving away from, thinking of something as like, if I don't follow this plan, then I won't heal. It's like, what parts of this work for me, and how can I dig into my relationship to food too, understanding where did that get a little bit, strained or difficult along the way.
I love that. And I also teach a lot about intuitive eating and how, listening to your body. And so many clients will come to me and they'll be like, okay, put me on a diet. What diet do I need to be on? Should it be keto, intermittent fasting, any of these things? And I'm like, we're not putting you on a diet. We're helping you learn how to eat for energy and eat for what foods are going to benefit my body the most. And it's all individualized. So it's like, it's such a different way of looking at things. And it almost takes the relief off of us. Like, oh my God, I don't have to be on a diet. This is amazing.
Right. I know. I feel like there's a big mindset shift that we have to have, because it's, you can't really package up and sell, like we can with these diets, like, oh, focus on blood sugar balance. It almost sounds boring, because that really is the way that, one of the things that can really be helpful.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So what would you say to somebody who comes to you and they're like, okay, I'm trying all the things, I'm doing all the things, and it's still not working, and I'm still having lots of symptoms. Where do we go from there?
Yeah. So when I'm working with a client, we're really first working to uncover those root causes. So sometimes we are trying to treat the symptom versus the root cause. So for example, two people could be experiencing acne. One person could be experiencing it more, mid-cycle, versus somebody gets those pre-period pimples that pop up, like the week before. And so that's when we were talking earlier about kind of checking in with, when are your symptoms popping up? Somebody with that mid-cycle acne could have elevated androgen levels, which are our testosterone or DHEA hormones, versus that pre-period acne could be more tied to estrogen and progesterone imbalances. And that can even have different pictures of how it looks. And so if we're just trying to, do things for acne, we could really be missing the mark a little bit, because really we want to address, those high androgen levels. So really focusing on blood sugar balance and stress management. Or do we have issues with estrogen, progesterone? Am I ovulating? Do I have gut issues? Need some liver support? So it really helps to guide the starting point and focus areas.
For sure. And I find too, and I'm sure you feel the same and see this in your practice, but a lot of times it has to do with our gut. And so many people don't even think like, I'm feeling some anxiety and depression. It might be in my gut that this is starting. So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you pull in the gut, and how should we really start to heal ours?
Yeah. Well, it's checking in with those symptoms too. And I do, when I'm working with clients one-on-one coaching, I do gut health testing, so we can really uncover what's going on in the gut, because a lot of times those symptoms are like bloating, constipation, diarrhea, stomach pain, and that can only tell us so much about what is driving that. So in my practice, I use gut health testing, but then also, focusing on, can we incorporate, are we eating enough fiber? Are we incorporating probiotic containing foods? Are we really tying in the stress piece, because our stress and our gut health are so connected? So those are just kind of some starting points that we talk about.
Gotcha. So let's talk about myths. Do you ever hear any like period myths, fertility myths, like maybe one or two that you want to be like, no, that's not true? So let's talk about that.
Yeah. One of the biggest questions I get, this one's not so much a myth, but I get asked a lot about intermittent fasting. I know you brought that one up, but I get asked about that, or have a lot of clients say they've tried that. And so I guess you could say the myth would be I need to do intermittent fasting to heal my hormones. And so the reason I don't use that in my practice, and again, with anything, it's, if it works for you, that's great, but I don't incorporate intermittent fasting in my practice because the relationship to food piece, one, when we're putting on a window of when we can and cannot eat, that disconnects us from our own personal hunger fullness cues and saying, I cannot eat when I'm hungry. So that's one piece of it. And then also, just depending on what window we're kind of doing there, we can we may not eat until like noon or something. And if a lot of my clients have something going on with their cortisol, stress hormones. And so then we're kind of running on our stress hormones in the morning if we're not eating, within, hour-ish of waking up. So that's one piece. It can just contribute over time more to our stress response. And then that can be a huge root cause of things going on hormonally.
For sure. And so what is your philosophy around meal timing? What does, and I'm sure this is individualized as well, but what do you kind of teach in your practice?
Yeah. So it is individualized, but basically, it is combining that knowledge of nutrition. So eating, for blood sugar balance, it would be every 3 to 5-ish hours. And that will just depend on, your own blood sugar response. If somebody has PCOS, for example, polycystic ovarian syndrome, they may be experiencing some more, blood sugar issues or insulin resistance. So really eating consistently so we're not having blood sugar drops and spikes. But then combining in that intuitive approach to eating and checking in with our hunger or fullness, what do I want right now? What sounds good? Am I hungry right now?
Yes.
So that's kind of the baseline that we start with.
Gotcha. And what about overnight? What do you have a recommendation there of, you should stop eating dinner around 7 and then not eat again until, 7, or kind of what does that look like?
Yeah, I really don't. Everybody's schedules are so different, I find, especially, with the past 2 years, everyone's schedules have, changed so much. So it's really figuring out what schedule is working for you and then kind of tying in your meal timing to that. And so I like to say in general, can we eat or try to eat within an hour or so of waking up? And coffee is a big one where can we try to pair that with your breakfast or have it after, just because when we're talking about that cortisol stress response, it can kind of shoot us up and then crash and then also affect our appetite as well. And then in terms of in the evening, I don't say stop at a specific time. Some people who, tend to wake up in the middle of the night, say between like 1 and 4 a.m., may actually benefit from having just a small bedtime snack to help sustain blood sugar throughout the night, because that can be one reason that is happening.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. So I'm so glad you brought that up. But yeah, if you're waking up consistently, between 1 and 4, sorry. My little puppy agreed with that. It could mean that your blood sugar is spiking. And so, a little snack with some fat and protein before bed could help with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So talk to us about a client you've helped with recently. Do you have like a case that stands out to you, or, somebody that you've really helped move the needle?
Yeah, let me think. One client I worked with, this was not so recent, but within the last year, she came to me. She had transitioned off of birth control. I think it had been several months. I usually recommend hormone testing, give it at least 3 months so we can kind of see where your hormones land. I think it had been about 6 months and her period hadn't come back. We did baseline hormone testing. Typically, we want to try to test at a specific point in your cycle, so 5 to 7 days after ovulation. But if period's missing, we can do some baseline testing, and her estrogen and progesterone were very low, and then her androgens, the testosterone, DHEA, were high, which can happen after birth control. We can have something called androgen rebound. Our other hormones may just be taking some time to wake up because depending on how long we've been on hormonal birth control, it's really cutting off that communication from our brain to our ovaries. And so we were able to individualize nutrition and lifestyle and, layering in that intuitive approach to eating. And, this is also a good story that healing takes time. We worked together for about a year, but within that time we retested and her sex hormones had really balanced out a lot, where her estrogen, progesterone were completely under the range, not ovulating. She was ovulating, her estrogen was back in a normal range, her androgens had lowered, and she was able to successfully conceive naturally.
Yay!
So yeah, that was a happy ending to that.
I love that.
Story. Yeah.
Yay. So we do have to take a break to hear a word from our sponsors, but we're going to come back in, and then second half of the show, we're going to talk more practical tips. Like what can we start to do starting today to start to heal our hormones and our fertility and get to that root cause. So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Hey, Krista, welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's dive into some practical tips. What are some things that we could start doing today that, say we're just getting started with some holistic, intuitive eating and lifestyle pieces? What are maybe 3 things that we could focus on today?
Yeah. Blood sugar balance is huge for everybody. I say that that's really the nutritional foundation for happy hormones, really no matter what we're experiencing. Our blood sugar is really tied into our energy, our mood, and how we're feeling overall, and really tied into our stress response too. So if we're really thinking about how can nutrition tie into helping, how I'm managing stress, managing my day to day, my mood, I say start there. And so what that looks like is eating consistently and really trying not to skip meals, that meal timing we talked about earlier. And then can we build our meals with protein, carbohydrate, and fat? Because we do need all 3. Each one has had its time in the diet culture world being demonized or praised, and really at the foundation, food is just comprised of these 3 macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fat, and each one has different benefits and roles in our body. And we may need to individualize the ratios of that, but we really do need all 3, and that really can help with our blood sugar balance.
For sure. And do you have a ratio that we really should focus on for fertility?
Yeah, it's so individualized. I really individualize it to the client. But when we're thinking about how am I building my plate, because this translates more into the food, and so then we can kind of move away from the numbers a bit. If we're visualizing like a circle plate, if we do about half of our plate veggies, and that provides fiber, about a quarter of our plate protein, I say a good starting point. Portion sizes, I say, are guidelines for a starting point. We can always eat more, we can always eat less. That's where that intuitive piece comes in. But about the size of the palm of your hand for a protein source, and then the other quarter of the plate carbohydrate, and that would be about handful to fistful, just depending on the food and what we're, what's going on blood sugar wise, insulin wise. We may need a little less carbohydrate at meals. If we're experiencing insulin resistance, we may need a bit more if we're like training for something. And then the fat may be something that we add on to something, or cooking oil, or like avocado, nuts, seeds. And so if we just visualize that, that's a basic plate example. Not every meal will look like that, but if we think about it that way, that can be helpful.
Yeah, I love that. I teach something called the magic plate, and it's very similar. So it's like breaking your plate, and getting all those macronutrients, not ever leaving one out or trying to eliminate. You need all three. So I love that you say that.
Yeah.
And is there any foods we should really look to stay away from that are like just big no-nos?
Yeah, with that intuitive approach to eating, I try to stay away from saying no to foods, but if we're trying to be mindful about some certain things that can really just contribute to some inflammation or gut issues, really vegetable oils or plant or seed oils. So that would be things like canola oil, vegetable oil. Those can be inflammatory, especially if we're incorporating those daily in large amounts. That's our go-to, cooking oil. So can we swap that out for maybe an olive or a coconut oil or an avocado oil? And then also being mindful of artificial sweeteners. And, those can be in sugar-free products, or just kind of just checking the label on, some of the things that we're having. And those are, can cause digestive issues or contribute to your digestive issues if that's something that you're experiencing.
Yes. And I completely agree. Those are kind of the things I steer my clients away from for sure. Yeah. So let's dive a little more into that stress piece.
Yeah.
So what are some things that we can do to actively manage our stress?
Yeah. I think it's important to think of stress as it's our physiological or body response to a stressor. So all of those things that we're saying, this is stressing me out, work's stressing me out, like this and this is stressing me out. It's really what our body is experiencing, is that fight or flight response that we hear so much about. And what's going on in the body is we're having a reaction to our stressors. And so everything in the body that needs to happen to literally run or fight something happens. And so our blood pressure rises. So we have more oxygen. Our blood sugar can rise kind of independent of, our meal, so that we have sugar to use for energy to literally run. Our breathing rate increases. And our digestion and reproduction take a back seat, because if we're thinking about in this moment, what's important, dealing with the stressor that's at hand, not digesting my food, not bringing new life into this world. And so we can end up in this chronic state of fight or flight, where that's our sympathetic nervous system. The opposite is our parasympathetic nervous system, or our rest and digest. And that's really where we want to try to move into. It's having a balance. This fight or flight system is, something that's an ancestral response that we do need, but what we're not really designed for is kind of keeping our foot on the gas at all times. I like to think of that as the gas, and then the parasympathetic is the brake. And so it's getting curious about what is contributing to what I call our stress cup, all of those different things going in, and that can be mental, emotional things and physical things. So what I mean is blood sugar imbalances, gut issues, inflammation, any sort of like injuries or dehydration. Those are all kind of like physical things going on in our body that can go in there. And then things like difficult life experiences, just our day-to-day stressors, trauma. So it's this combination of physical and mental, emotional stressors. So it's first getting curious about kind of what's even in there, and then thinking about what tools can I incorporate to help with shifting from this stress state to a more calm state.
For sure. And I like to talk about it like you have a stress management plan. It's not, it's more than just relax, because I hate when people say that. It's so much more than that.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of us, we can kind of swing from this hyper aroused state to this hypo aroused state. So that's where we're either experiencing a bit more anxiety or a bit more depression, or kind of swinging from state to state. And the goal I've learned through just, doing some trauma therapy is that the goal isn't necessarily to just like live in this balanced state. A lot of us are kind of used to living or kind of swinging between those hypo aroused states. So it's really just trying to get closer to our edge. It's not forcing ourselves into this kind of balanced state, because that can almost be a bit more stressful when we're used to being kind of heightened or lowered, if that makes sense.
For sure. For sure. And again, to bring the gut back into it, something that's so cool that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of our serotonin is made in our gut. And so when our gut is off, when one of those nervous systems is off, it causes our gut to be off, which causes us to be super stressed out, even feeling a little anxiety, depression, any of those things. So again, making sure that gut is optimized and balanced is important for our mental and emotional health.
Yes.
Yeah. So what piece of advice would you give? Say somebody's just starting out. They're just starting to dip their toe into, intuitive eating, a healthier lifestyle. What piece of advice would you give that person? And then on the other hand of the spectrum, where somebody's done all the things, they've tried everything and they're like, okay, where do I go now? What piece of advice would you give them?
It's interesting because I would say that my advice would be kind of the same for both.
Okay.
Because I work with both. I work with people kind of just like, this symptom just popped up. What do I do? And people who have really done all the things. But it's really coming at it from a place of boiling it down to basics, knowing you don't need to do everything all at once. Of course, there could be like 80 different things that you could do, but just picking, the one or two to start with, that feel the best to you, and then build from there, because that's about, creating long-term habits and sustained change. I always say it's the small habits that build to make the biggest impact over time. So it's, not feeling like we have to do everything all at once, kind of starting with maybe the most pressing issue, and then incorporating the things that kind of feel good to you to start with. So it doesn't feel like you're either on this plan or off this plan, or that it's contributing to the stress that you're likely already experiencing.
Right. I love that. Yes. So just pick one place to start and then just start there. And if you're already doing all the things, then maybe pick a place where you can up level. So I love it. I love it. So tell us more about you. Where can people find you? Do you have certain programs available, and how can we work with you?
Yeah, definitely. So you can find me at my website. It's composednutrition.com. I'm also on Instagram at Composed Nutrition, and I offer one-on-one coaching, and I also have a few online programs for those who prefer self-guided and more of the education piece. Whether you are experiencing period pain, I have a period rescue online course. If you have PCOS, I have PCOS Harmony. And if you are looking to transition off of birth control, I have after birth control.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And what about any little freebies? Do you have anything that you want to offer the audience?
Oh, yes. So if you go to my website, I have a section where you can click Start Here. I have several different guides that have some free 5-day meal plans included that you can download right away. And I also have a free masterclass if you are someone experiencing painful periods or really symptomatic cycles. So that's hour-long education where you can dig deeper into that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And we'll put all that in the show notes, so it'll be really easy to find. Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So any final thoughts, anything you want to leave our audience with, words of encouragement, or any advice?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people I work with feel like really frustrated, or that they have the best of intentions and they're doing all the things like we were just talking about. So just knowing that, just make it simple, kind of lighten the load that you may be putting on yourself, and just really choosing one thing to focus on to start, and instead of feeling like you need to do it all and fix it all and it'll be perfect and good, right away. Just really leaning more into the journey of it all.
I love it. And I completely agree. Awesome. Well, thank you, Krista, for being here. I've enjoyed having you on, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. from a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.